Hello there, folks, and welcome to Hearst Castle, or Hearst San Simeon State Historic Monument. My name is Ryan, and I'd like to show you around the place here today. And since we do have a bit of social distancing space here, I'd like to take my mask off to make it a little easier to talk with you. Now, anyone who takes a look around the assembly room here at Hearst Castle will notice that William Randolph Hearst, the man who made this home, had an obsession with art collecting to a scale that's almost impossible to fathom. The man bought art to fill not just this house, but multiple houses like it and warehouses on top of that. So when he passed away in 1951, he left behind an art collection large enough to rival most major museums. And that's a bit of a problem for his corporation. See, they inherit all of this, and it's their job now to assess and evaluate everything that he's leaving behind. And any attempt to evaluate a collection of this size is going to be a bit difficult, because it's almost inevitable that you will overlook some important things, which brings me to this vase. Getting a look at this vase up close, you can probably understand why I'm so interested in it. The body is made from a single sheet of silver. That silver has been intricately etched with a pattern that its creators would have called saracenic, and its enameling that runs along the edges has no repetition. There are just different varieties of orchids built into the enamel that run all along the sides of the vase. So it's an incredibly elaborate work, and it's done by a company you may have heard of called Tiffany. Surprisingly enough, though, despite all of these details, this vase is largely overlooked in the initial assessment. And to be fair, in a collection this big and this extravagant, even the most elaborate of artworks can get lost. But I do still think that this vase requires a bit more attention. And not just because it looks good. There's also a story behind this. And that story can teach us a lot about the rise of American silverwork. Problem is, though, we didn't get that full story for quite a while. See, when the state of California took over in 1958, we would do some of our own research on the collection. When we initially contacted Tiffany about this, they didn't really have a lot of information to go on. They could tell us this was one of theirs, but they didn't really know exactly where it was from. We didn't get the full story until 2000. Tiffany at the time was looking to make a book on their silver collection. And as it so happens, they wanted more information on this. But this time, taking a look at the vase again, they were able to see what they were looking at. And they realized that this largely unnoticed vase was one of their most important early silver works. But to understand why it's so important requires a bit of context, and luckily we can get a bit of that in Mr. Hearst's dining room. In 1837, when Tiffany and Company was first founded, America wasn't known for its silver work. And it only takes a quick look around the refectory here at Hearst Castle to understand why. You see, William Randolph Hearst was an avid collector of European silver. What you're seeing represents centuries of European silverwork and tradition. They had generations of craftsmen who've been honing their craft and teaching it throughout the years. So for America to try and compete with European silversmithing is going to be nearly impossible. And it shows, because by the mid-19th century, no American silver maker has won awards at foreign competitions. America did have one advantage, though. See, the 19th century was a period of turmoil for much of Europe. And as displaced peoples left their home country, they started seeking opportunity in the New World. As they came to America, well, they bring with them their craftsmanship and skills from the home country, which means if you're a savvy businessman like Tiffany, it behooves you to hire those folks up, put them alongside the already established American craftsmen, and have them train later generations. Tiffany even goes so far as to create their own internal school to sort of train up their craftsmen. And it works, because by 1867, Tiffany has become the first American company to win honors at a foreign competition for their silver work. By 1878, they've won their first grand prize at a World's Fair, but the year we're interested in is 1889, because that's the year that our vase had its time to shine. 1889 is a landmark year for France. It represents the 100th anniversary of the storming of the Bastille, the beginnings of the French Revolution. So the World's Fair in Paris that year is going to be big. And for those of us who have grown up in an era after the World's Fair, you might not understand what I mean when I say big. So let me put this in perspective for you. There were a number of structures made for the World's Fair that year, but the most impressive of which was the main structure for the entrance that they call the Eiffel Tower. As you can imagine, any fair large enough to build for itself what will later become a national monument is going to be one you want to attend, particularly if you're a business. Companies will come from all over the world to showcase their products at these exhibits, and Tiffany is no different. They choose to put their best foot forward, and led by Edward C. Moore, probably America's best silversmith of that era, they will craft an elaborate display with 24 enameled orchid brooches, and for the centerpiece, this vase. To say that this vase was successful would be an understatement. It won grand prize at the fair that year for silver work. On top of that, Jewelers Weekly called this the largest and also handsomest work of enameled silver ever produced in this country, if not the world. And when it went on sale, it immediately attracted the attention of a wealthy socialite by the name of Phoebe Apperson Hearst, William Randolph Hearst's mother. It was she who decided that while she loved the vase, she was looking for something a little more practical, which is why the vase is now actually an oil lamp. She had Tiffany modify it just for that purpose. More important, though, than any praise that this vase was lavished with or awards it won is what those things mean in context. Remember, by the mid-19th century, no American company had won awards for their silver abroad. Yet by the end of the 19th century, Tiffany is regularly bringing home grand prizes at the biggest events in the world. And those successes are a sign that American craftsmen and artisans are beginning to make their name on the world stage. And this vase is one small part of that much larger story.